Persevere. That's the word that came out today again when I woke up. Actually, it started coming into my senses yesterday, my last video, day 12. So today, it's persevere. Day 13 of the enhanced community quarantine. Again, the word for today is persevere. And we know that our prophets in the Bible, they persevered in doing their mission when God called them to perform the plans of the Lord. But one prophet that stuck in my mind and in my heart is Moses, the most humble prophet in the history of salvation. So I read again this morning the story of Exodus, and I found out that even before Moses was born, his life was not that easy. It was not a bed of roses like we all call it. His life was not very, very easy, because even before he was born from a Hebrew woman, the king of Egypt ordered the two midwives, Shiphrah, if I'm not mistaken, Shiphrah and Puah, these two midwives, God-fearing midwives. They were ordered by the king to kill the child if it's a boy, and to let it live if the child is a girl. And it so happened that the child was a boy, and it was Moses. But the two midwives, because they were God-fearing, they let the boy live. And we know from the story that the queen found Moses on the river, where the midwives planned to put Moses there as if it was just a lost child, ginano ng tubig, you know. Fast forward, Moses get married, and his father-in-law was Jethro. One day, this is the part of the book Exodus that touched me this morning. When one day when Moses was taking care of the sheep of his father-in-law Jethro, he saw a burning bush, and he was shocked. He was shocked and wondering why the bush was not burning when there was fire. So he approached the burning bush, and then God saw Moses getting closer to the burning bush. And so he said to Moses, Moses, you are stepping on the holy ground. So he removed his sandals, and even Moses covered his face because he was afraid to see God's face. God gave Moses the mission to lead the Israelites out of the Egyptians' tyranny, kumbaga. And what struck me also the most is when God said in chapter 3, verse 7, he said, I have heard them cry out to be rescued from their slave drivers. I know all about their sufferings. I have heard them cry out to be rescued from their slave drivers. And it made me think, currently, with this enhanced community quarantine with the coronavirus, people all over the world, majority of us, are praying and crying out to God to free us from this slave driver. And this morning, God assured not only me, but for sure assured us when he said also to Moses that I know all about the sufferings of my people. So that part of the line in that verse specifically, chapter 3, verse 7, even now it gives me a teary eye, because God knows we are suffering. God knows we are crying for help coming from them. So this is an assurance for us to persevere, because God hears us. God knows what we are going through. And then in the same chapter, verse 9, he said, I have indeed heard the cry of my people. I have indeed heard the cry of my people. So the environment is quiet. We can only hear few motorcycles roaming. They are from those part of the frontliners, but generally the environment is quiet and seems to be like we ask, is God also quiet at this moment? Is he listening to us? But then again, this verse made me realize, and I hope it will also make you realize that for sure, 1000%, God indeed hears our prayer. So we have to persevere because we have a God who hears our prayer. So when God told Moses to go back to Egypt and talk to the king to free his people, the response of Moses was it was so very humble, and he said, Lord, I am nobody. How can how can I go to the king and talk to him and free your people, free the Israelites? I am nobody. But God assured him that when you go to the king, tell the king that the one who is I am has sent me. So God is I am. At this moment in time, our God is our I am, reminding us deep in our hearts that, children, my people, with this coronavirus, I am your God. I am your defender. I am your protector. I am your healer. So like Moses who persevered, we face this crisis now with our faith that God is truly the I am. I am your defender. I am your protector. I am your God. I am your healer. Come to me. Trust in me. Persevere in your faith. Persevere in your prayer because I am. Wow. Such a beautiful reminder. Such a beautiful reminder. And so Moses went to the king, and from there many things happened when they were on their way to Mount Sinai, as promised by God, that God will bring them to a place so rich that they will live a spacious land. And along the way, people sinned. We know that because of waiting, Israelites became impatient of the salvation of God and led them to not believe that there is God. So what they did was they built their own gods made of gold. Made of gold. So with this status of pandemic of this coronavirus, we may be tempted to ask, are you really there, God? Are you there? Are you listening to us? So what's up? What are you gonna do next? It's like that. But the lesson of the prophet Moses is for us to persevere. You know, in chapter 33, verse 13, 12 to 14, Moses told the Lord, and he said that, Lord, it is true that you have told me to lead these people out of the Egyptians' hand, and but leading them out of Egypt, you did not tell me who you would send to be with me. No, Moses said, and Moses even reminded God that he said, God, you said that you are pleased with me, and you know me very well. No, that's how Moses talked to God, and I think it's all. Not I think, but I believe we can talk to God at this moment of the enhanced community quarantine. We can talk to God like what Moses did, no? Being intimate with the Lord. We have to persevere talking to God, even if in our thinking He is not listening, no? That God, you said you love us. You said you love your people. You said you are pleased with us. Now that's what Moses said. And then Moses continued this conversation with the Lord, and he said, now, if you are, can you tell me your plans so that I may serve you and continue to please you. Tell me your plans so that I may serve you and continue to please you. Remember also that you have chosen this nation to be your own. Remember that you have chosen this nation to be your own. Every one of us is God's nation. We are God's people. I would love reading in the Bible when it says, I hear my people cry. I hear my people cry. My people. He did not say, I hear those people, but my people. So we have to remember that we are God's people. We have to persevere because we have a God who owns us. And so, what was the promise of of God to Moses. Very beautiful. You listen to this. The Lord said, I will go with you and I will give you victory. I will go with you and I will give you victory. What a beautiful promise of the Lord. For how many weeks now, many things already happened with this enhanced community quarantine. So where is God? Should I persevere? Should I persevere in life? But then again, chapter 33 of the book of Exodus, verse 14 said, God said, I will go with you and I will give you your victory. And so there is no point of stopping somewhere in the middle of this quarantine, stopping our faith, stopping our belief in God, stopping our perseverance. That is why since yesterday and this morning, the word that keeps on reminding me is persevere. Because again, God said, remember, I will go with you and will give you victory. That's why he is called Emmanuel. God is with you. God bless everyone.